everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Bitcoin, of course, kind of see what's going on. Just a really quick perspective, and if you are wondering what's up with the camera, I'm going to be out of town for the next couple of weeks, so just heads up on that. Hopefully the audio quality is sufficient, ergo headphones. Alright, so if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade. Hope you can learn something here today, of course. And at this point, I just love teaching people how to trade. So if you want that for yourself, CryptoCache.tech is a site. Link in the description below. Check that out. If you have any questions, go ahead and message me direct with my contact information. So, Bitcoin, what's going on this weekend? Well, first of all, yesterday was a nice green day, kind of recovered, bounced off that key level support at about 22,500, and essentially is retesting the 23,400 area. This is a point of contention. Obviously, in the past, we've seen it work as a strong resistance level, and the price action came down. We broke above. Now we're down below and retesting that level. In the shorter time frames, you can kind of see that better, but generally speaking, it's looking pretty good in that sense for a likely break to the upside. That's exactly the reason why I left my long position open with Bitcoin here recently that we took, because I'm confident it would have bounced and come back. So we're halfway there. You just got to be a little more patient. Now, is it going to happen this weekend? It's hard to say specifically if it's going to break. There's typically not a lot of volume on the weekends, but it is something of note. We did also bounce off of 50 on the RSI. Big coincidence. That's a support level, and that is concurrent once again right here at about 22,500. So 22.5 is a key level support. 23.4 is a key level resistance. We're kind of stuck in that range for the moment. But once again, the more often you retest a level, the more likely it is to break. And with us retesting 23.4 for a fifth day in a row, I think we are looking pretty good here for a breakthrough and above. Now we do have MACD convergence / divergence. It's basically just drawing dead. So when you see this happen, it really just tells us there's no momentum to either direction. Kind of just leave it alone. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think the 4 hour is more telling. So why don't we take a quick look at the MACD on the 4 hour and see what's going on. We had a convergence, of course, yesterday where the 26 intersected with a 12-day on the upward, and we're looking at what that was roughly 2 days ago that happened, and it's continued this whole time. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the price is going to explode, but it does tell us that we are on the right side of the tracks there on the midterm here, and that generally speaking, we are looking at a pretty decent position right now for Bitcoin. Another thing we want to take a look at, of course, is the RSI. It's kind of drawn dead right around 50. When you see this happen, it pretty much tells you can go either direction. It's kind of just consolidating. But the great thing about this is we're consolidating at a resistance level. So if you see this here, we could very well have some type of ascending wedge pattern that does break to the upside. Because once again, we've seen a retest this level multiple days in a row. Okay. So again, all good stuff there in that sense. We're also making higher lows. Even though we're not making higher highs, higher lows are most important on an uptrend to effectively help us continue higher, because obviously we can't make higher highs until we break that resistance, right? So we're looking pretty good there in that sense. I think the 4 hour is telling us we're looking pretty decent. I forgot to look at the moving averages here. We're pretty much drawing dead. That kind of is concurrent with the 50 on the RSI, just kind of telling us that, hey, the price action is unwilling to leave this zone. We've got a tremendous amount of volume right at the 23,000 range. So 23,000 plus or minus, we can see a lot of support there. So at this point, that should continue to hold the price action higher. Let's take a look at the daily really quick, and I forgot to take a look at this, of course, but generally speaking, what we want to look at is the moving averages and kind of see where we're at on the daily here. So as we can see, the 50 is working as a support level now. So hypothetically, the price action comes down, we should be in good shape. Another thing to also understand this is the simple fact that when the moving average is coming up, it'll concurrently run itself with trend lines, and this ascending trend line has proven to be very beneficial so far. So we've got almost a third touch here. Of course, I'm glad it didn't, but wouldn't be surprised if it still does, right? So if it comes over here, tests and continues upwards, that would make the most sense. So again, just something to kind of pay attention to, but the 20-day set moving average is working tentatively as a support level as well. I more so like to look at the 50 and see where that's at, and ultimately I think that's mostly positive here. So we're looking pretty decent here for Bitcoin. Let's see what the hourly tells us, if there's much at all. We can see there's really not a whole lot of sequential indications that we're at here. Obviously, we could see it got rejected out at a 9 there and came right back down. That's pretty standard when you have an overextension to the upside. But now we've had this second little run up, and it comes back down again. But the key here is that it keeps making higher lows, and we should likely be able to break. So I mean, in truth, these sequence of numbers is really irrelevant at this point, based on the fact that we're consolidating, going practically sideways. But it is important to note that we were overexhausted before when we hit this level, so it makes sense that we rejected the first time. Taking a look, of course, at the Ichimoku cloud. This is something to recognize. I mean, there's some good stuff here, you could say, based on the fact that we are above the cloud, so hypothetically a long position is much more viable than it was previously. Conversion line's above the baseline. You can see that here. And then, of course, we can also identify that the lagging span is, well, tentatively free and clear of the price action. So with that being said, that really isn't like a full-on confirmation we want to take a long position, but it definitely is, a lot of cards are leaning in the direction of an uptrend versus a downtrend, just based on the most recent behavior in the last 48 hours, but also the overall sense of key level supports and resistances. 22.5 is a key level support, and 23.4 is essentially a very strong resistance level. But once again, the more often you test a resistance level, the more likely it is to break. And I can see a lot of activity at 23,400. It keeps trying. I think it's just a matter of time before we break to the upside. So again, that's kind of where we're at there in general for Bitcoin. I wouldn't say that this is just it's going to have a phenomenal breakout this weekend, because it is a weekend, right? The weekends are typically kind of, I don't know, uneventful, for lack of a better term. So I would recommend just kind of, if you have a long position open, keep it open. If you take a long position, just make sure that you understand that we still have some ascending trends continuing higher. Maybe not a super tight stop loss in this case, just based on the fact that it's been fluctuating a decent amount. And in all reality, day trading this market is kind of difficult and hard to gauge. So I would recommend maybe converting a little more so from day trading to swing trading. And when I say swing trading, we're not talking months. We're talking just a couple of days, perhaps even a week at the worst case. But generally speaking, when you take a trade, keep it fairly loose based on the fact that we're kind of range bound for the moment. And if you have a tight stop loss, you're probably going to get stopped out with these stupidly large candle wicks and candlesticks. Again, just some friendly advice there, but generally speaking, I like the state of Bitcoin right now. I still feel very comfortable and confident with the higher lows on the daily. We even have higher highs as well. But more importantly, on the micro and the macro are pretty much telling us we have a little more potential than the opposite of essentially to transition ourselves higher above this key level resistance. So I am confident we're going to be able to hit our targets. It's just a matter of time, honestly. So we might see the price action go sideways for a couple more days and then break out on Monday. And again, just hypothetically, pay attention to the regular markets. If S&P or Nasdaq, either or, gap up on Monday, and then we see the dollar index dropping, then that could be a case in point that works out fairly well. But good news is yesterday was a nice day based on some of the fundamentals we saw in the market, and a lot of good stuff here essentially for Bitcoin in the overall sense of things. So I would say we're definitely looking pretty decent. But again, I wouldn't expect any dramatic movements this weekend, which is commonly the reason why you don't see me trading over the weekends too. So again, just keep that in mind. But I hope that this was beneficial for you and you did learn something today. If so, comment below, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to become a bear trader, again, CryptoCache.tag is a site, link in the description below. I look forward to working with y'all. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for your time.